We members of Concerned Citizens for Change address you this morning to express our worry and sadness over the purported enforcement of ban on sachet beverages by the NAFDAC DG, Professor Mojisola Christiana Adeyeye, and her co-travelers in this journey of producing more unemployed youths in Nigeria. We read with rude shock a piece of news item in the print media, broadcast, and other media outlets, credited to the NAFDAC, purportedly enforcing a ban on the production, distribution, and consumption of alcoholic beverages in sachet and small volume, PET glass bottles below 200 ml. This draconian pronouncement by the Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, in coalition with some members of the Nigerian Senate, is in sharp contrast to the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, who rose to power with a people-oriented development blueprint and immediately embarked on total diversification of Nigeria's economy from oil and to other resources available for the execution of capital projects, as can be seen in the full deregulation of the Nigerian oil sector downstream. Our fuse with this said publication lies in its hasty and undemocratic nature. If you could remember, I was on a live TV on this particular issue about a month ago, yet it has persisted. The agency in question has failed to engage critical stakeholders and industrial players to find a common ground in line with the resolutions reached at a parley with the federal government, Federal Ministry of Health, and members of the House of Representatives, where far-reaching resolutions were made. We are therefore further constrained that the purported enforcement is in pursuant to alleged resolution passed by the Senate, an arm of government that is ordinarily supposed to be representing the interests of all Nigerians, directing NAFDAC to carry out the anti-people action. We strongly suspect that the Senate resolution were passed at the behest of NAFDAC at its sittings of Thursday, November 6, 2025, without taking cognizance to the ongoing consideration of the same matter by the members of the House of Representatives. If we say we are running a bicameral legislation and the House of Reps is still sitting on a matter, what is the need for the Senate to rush into conclusion with such matter? Of course, every part of the representation at the National Assembly is a face of the common man on the street, which is fully represented here today. So, while the Senate has concluded, the House of Rep is still on deliberation on this matter. This shows that there is discordant tone in the attempt to achieve this unwarranted and draconian policy. Meanwhile, a directive was issued for 1-year extension by the Ministry of Health, another arm of the government, which is the supervisory organ of the government that is constitutionally saddled with the responsibilities overseeing NAFDAC, leading to the signing of the National Alcohol Policy. We are taken aback because the issue of enforcement on the ban of beverages in sachets and small PET bottles were resolved by a high-powered committee of stakeholders, which has resulted in the signing of the National Alcohol Policy. Key components of the resolutions are multi-sectoral action plans, robust pragmatic enforcement by law enforcement agencies, establishment of licensed liquor stores, outlets in local government areas across the country, increased monitoring and surveillance to ensure compliance, checks by NAFDAC and FCCPC and others to guarantee quality assurance in terms of content and safety, products regulation by relevant bodies, monitoring and enlightenment campaigns, on the dangers of underage consumption of alcohol and its sales in motor parks. Enlightenment campaigns to be carried out in secondary schools across the country to enlighten students on the dangers and vices associated with the abuse of alcohol. All these were agreed upon by stakeholders at the event, which we believe was a more transparent process as against the recent pronouncement of purported outright ban. Furthermore, it is also worthy of note that the unfounded and untested statement of abuse by the minors has been dismissed by several independent researches conducted by the government. The industries have gone on a step further notwithstanding the report of the survey, to initiate series of campaigns in respect of responsible alcoholic consumption in order to discourage underage abuses, which has so far cost industry operators a whopping sum of over ₦1 billion on advert placements in major media outlets across the Federation, and has been very impactful in discouraging abuses by underage persons. More so, it is important to state that the purported directive for an outright ban is unfair and unacceptable, given the fact that NAFDAC have issued its violation of terms of a more inclusive process that was organized by the agency's supervising Ministry of Health. It is our position that NAFDAC should have presented its position before the Senate committee alongside the ministry during the validation, rather than bypassing this process and opting to approach the National Assembly without giving other stakeholders opportunity of fair hearing. Unfortunately, the implications of this pronouncement are too grave to be ignored. It is economically counterproductive for a government that is expanding its revenue net to gulp in more resources for the execution of infrastructural projects and tackle other pressing governance issues. If allowed to stand, it will cause economic dislocation of unimaginable proportion to the nation at this critical time, with grave consequences for the nascent economic progress that have been recorded within the shortest possible period. The resultant effects would be a loss of over 1.9 trillion naira investment by indigenous companies, with attendant retrenchment of over 500,000 direct employments and approximately 5 million indirect jobs through contract marketing and other agencies like advertising and sales outlets. Reduction in capacity utilization and manufacturing, which recent economic indices suggest gradual upward owing to revenue from these said banned products contribution as component of food beverages sector. Loss of indigenous businesses that may gradually obliterate local entrepreneurship development in the economy. Hence, our prayers that the Honorable Minister and Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare to kindly endorse the draft copy of the validated Nigerian National Alcohol Policy and its multi-sectoral implementation framework. That the Senate should also act with dignity, fairness, and respect for all in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that they swore to uphold and revisit the matter by way of calling for stakeholders' consultations, either through public hearing or focus meetings with relevant policy players in the alcohol beverages industry, as was robustly done by the House of Representatives. That the Senate rescinds on the order and also restrain NAFDAC from implementing the illegal ban from 31st of 2025 December, pending the full implementation of the multi-sectoral framework for Nigeria National Alcohol Policy. That the NAFDAC DG should desist from further running the agency like a private enterprise, thereby subjecting it to public ridicule. More importantly, the NAFDAC DG, Professor Mojisola Christiana Adedieye, she will resign her appointment without further delay, as she appears to be operating at crossroads with a renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Thank you, and God bless you. I am Comrade Opanachi Jacob.